Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We're a full service CX and UX agency, and welcome to our new early office hours, our second one on Tuesdays. We will still do the regular ones at 6:30 p.m. my time, but it's 10 a.m. my time, so I'm rubbing the sleep from my eyes and here to help everybody who's probably in the UK time zone and Far East. We got a request from an Australian viewer who was hoping I would start doing some office hours that would match when they are awake, and I think that makes total sense. So we'll give this one a try, a little bit experimental. We'll see how many people come and how long it should be and things like that. But I will get the chat started and see if anybody is here. And I did get one question ahead of time, so even if nobody shows up, I will record one question and then say goodbye. Also, a quick reminder, you can certainly subscribe here on YouTube and ring the bell so that you know when I'm live, which at this point is 4 or 5 times a week, especially with the new Friday sessions that are coming. And of course, if you like it, tell YouTube by pressing like. That always helps. So let's start with the question that I've got, and then I'll hang around a few minutes and see if anybody else has questions. So the question I had gotten, I actually didn't notice it was for today's, and I had answered it last week, but it's worth talking about again. And that question was, how does the design team manage clients who wish to pay less, or if they can't afford the research process? Always a great question. Can't answer this one enough. So when you have a client who wants to pay less or can't afford the research process, you probably have a client who doesn't understand UX and probably doesn't appreciate UX, and so that is probably going to be an uphill battle. It's probably going to be difficult to convince these people of the value of UX, though it's worth a try, but don't feel badly if you're not able to do it. And also, if they can't afford the research process, I would say still find some ways to do as much research as you can. Even if they're not letting you do some upfront research, see if you can at least get some testing in, at least one round, maybe more. That way, because without research, you're guessing at the design, at least if you get some testing in, you can try to improve the design or see if it's just gone in the completely wrong direction before engineers build it and it's given to the public as the product. So at the very least, I would say get rounds of testing in there, but also another thing is document everything. I like to remind people that it's important to document what you're doing and how you're doing it and things like that. But especially for a client like this, you might want to document that normally a project like this should have this type of research, methodology, plan, number of subjects, blah, 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 blah. But we were told we don't have time or budget for that, and we're not going to do it. So here are some of the risks that this project or product faces because we didn't stop first to better understand our customers and because we are guessing for our customers. So I would say document those risks and just remind people that without better research in upfront, we are guessing, and that is risky for the company, risky for the project and the product. Make sure you've detailed what research, how much time it would have taken and what it would have costed to try to show people it's going to be less than the fixes they have later. Remember, when there are fixes later, you can always go, oh wow, it took us how long and cost us how much to fix that? Versus if I had done research up front and we would have known and we wouldn't have made those mistakes. And so it's a little bit of nya, but I think if you can find a professional, unemotional way to say that later, it might help you get some of that time and budget later. So how do you manage clients who wish to pay less? It's not easy, and there isn't one right way, but I would say sometimes we just have to remind them what they're missing, and when aspects of the project go wrong, like if an idea you have is determined to not be the best idea or needs fixes. If they get mad at you for not guessing well enough, you have to say, hey, I was guessing. Without research, I'm guessing. If you want me to do a better job, it has to be informed by properly undertaken qualitative research. Lately, I've been turning down clients who want to skip the research phase or cut it to almost nothing or save it for later, mostly because I found that when I do work for those clients and I do start with a round of guesses at the information architecture, interaction design, or something else, and then it goes to testing, I find that those clients are then what's the word I'm looking for? They're mad at me. They're, I forgot the word I'm thinking of, but they're angry that I didn't guess better. Why are we testing this? And it's not perfect. Aren't you the expert? And I don't even want those jobs anymore because I know that's what's likely to happen when my stuff doesn't test perfectly, and it never tests perfectly. We can always find improvement. Someone's like, what did I pay you for? Why does this need fixing now? Because they really don't understand what we do. So that would be the answer to that question. Just a reminder, you can ask any questions. I'm here live, and hello to Sandipan in LinkedIn. You can ask at deltacx.link/ask, or you can ask right here in the chat room. I am monitoring LinkedIn and YouTube. And let's see. I don't have any questions in the email. I have to check my email and make sure that these things are coming in. So let's check. Wonder what that is. It's a weird email, but it's not a question. So I'm happy to take any questions. I'll stick around for at least 10 or 15 minutes in case somebody has a question. This is new early office hours. This is designed to be a little bit of an experiment. It is 10:07 a.m. my time, March 23rd. We will still continue holding office hours at 6:30 p.m. my time. Today's special guest taking questions will be Steve Portugal. But I'd like to see if there is a demand for office hours in another time zone. So we'll give this a shot for a few weeks and see how it goes, because that's what we do in CX and UX. We do our research, we run experiments, and we see how we can improve. And hello to the 3 people watching on YouTube. I'm waiting for any questions that you have. And while I wait for that, I'm going to just tell everybody what's coming up on the show. And of course, you can just kind of slap all kinds of things on the end of deltacx.link because it's my URL shortener. So /events will give you a calendar of everything that's coming up. /reaction will send me something you want me to react to in the new upcoming Friday reaction videos, which will start on April 2nd. /ask asks questions here. You can ask all week long, and I'll save them for this episode. /coaching is if you want to book some coaching time with me. Everybody can have one free. After that, I do charge. /portfolio review will sign you up for one of my free portfolio reviews. Everybody gets one. After that, I charge. And /giveaway will enter you in this month's giveaway, which is one free ticket to the BAD conference. It's not a BAD conference. It's the Behavior and Design Conference. And I think that is worth over $100, £100, €100. So it's very nice of the BAD conference to offer us a free ticket. #not sponsored. So very quickly this afternoon, 6:30 p.m. Italy my time, we've got Office Hours Ask Me Anything again with Steve Portugal. Tomorrow we have Sotiris joining us, and he's going to talk about how to set up your own user pool. So that's for researchers or people looking to learn more about research. Friday and Sunday, we will have more observational cooking. So if you want to practice your note-taking, there you go. And let's see, Monday the 29th, we'll start the affinity diagram, or complete it, for our micro lessons in observational research. So, and is anybody joining me on that one? No. Tuesday the 30th, double office hours. Wednesday the 31st, not broadcasting. And of course, Friday the 2nd, which is Good Friday. So I know some might not be watching streams that day, but that will be our first reaction stream, which will be a short 15-minute stream where I react to things you send me, like articles, bootcamp curricula, social media posts, quick reactions, quick. And Shrivas is here. Hello, good to see you. Let's put your question up on the screen. Is that working? Not working? Okay, my system is not putting this up on the screen. I must have my, oh, I do have my settings wrong. That's wonderful. Hold on. It's trying to write it on top of my name. That's not going to work. Okay, let's try again. Can I get this question on the screen? Yes, I did it. Okay, Shrivas says, hi Debbie, nice to be on another live session with you again. Always good to see you. My question, as an entry-level UXD, my confusion is whether to provide recruiters detailed portfolios with all use cases or brief ones. By use cases, I mean case studies. And I also wanted to thank you quickly for the observational research sessions. Give me a lot of clarity on the note-taking. Yes, do as I say, not as I do. So thanks for the question. Give me one moment to copy and paste it so I can get that into the YouTube description later, because that's where all these end up. Good morning, Sujish. So let's talk a little bit about how long should your case studies be in your portfolio. And I do talk about this in episode 54 in the live podcasts playlist, where I talk about portfolio mistakes and do's and don'ts, at least according to my opinion. You're going to get lots of different opinions. So what I tend to suggest is you have to kind of combine both. You're going to have a case study that has enough detailed information for someone like me who's really trying to see the science and technique of what you've done. I want to know how you did things, not just I spoke to users, I learned things. When I see portfolios like that, it's hard for me to want to interview you because I can't tell if you're doing work well or not, but I do certainly know that you don't tell a very good story. So I think there has to be a combination of the amount of stuff balanced with storytelling. What I've been suggesting to people is that you can always use accordions, things that expand and contract, to say, here's the short version of what I did here for the people who don't care about the details. The hiring managers usually care about the details. HR, recruiters, sourcers, staffing agents, talent agents, sometimes they just want the short version with the pretty pictures to try to imagine you can do this. But when it gets to that hiring manager, if the hiring manager has UX experience, they're probably looking for that science and technique. So I do recommend that people then have an accordion or something that, don't send them to another page and don't make me download a file or a PDF or a video. I would just have something that expands a little bit or maybe pops up as a light box and says, here's the further details on that. I recruited 50 people, and from that we scheduled 15, and then I met 12, and here are the 3 best questions I asked them, and here are 3 to 5 really interesting insights that came out of that research. And of course, maybe how you did the research. Now, that doesn't have to be pages and pages and pages. Give me the bullet point short version. I just want to see that you know the right science and technique. The rest, if you remember, the portfolio is speed dating. If I like what I see and I think, Shrivas can really do this, let's call them in for an interview. Let's meet that person. Then you don't have to have told the whole story. You can leave something for the interview, but I would say it is a little bit of a tough balance. I don't have like the perfect portfolio to show you. I had that in episode 18, and the guy took it down. He changed it and took it down, but I thought it was perfect. It was a little long, but I thought he did a good job breaking out additional information for people who wanted it and making it kind of optional. I hope that helps. This is still early office hours. Ask me anything, and I'll stick around a little bit in case people have questions. Let me check email for any emailed questions. Nope. So again, you can ask questions in the chat room. I'm monitoring LinkedIn and YouTube. And I can also grab questions from deltacx.link/ask, which you can use to ask anonymously if for some reason you have a question that's maybe complaining about your current job or something you don't want me to say your name out loud like I usually do. And sorry as usual for pronouncing people's names badly. Meanwhile, I will have my breakfast shake while I wait for people to ask more questions. This is an experiment to see if it's a good idea to have 2 office hours a day to accommodate more time zones. So I will run these for a few weeks at this early time and at the later time as well, just to see if there really is demand for people to join the early office hours because the time zone's better for them. Hey, you're welcome. Shriva says, thanks for the answer. Let's practice putting things on the screen now that I'm fixing my system. Supercomputer did arrive, but I had to rebuild a couple of things in my TV studio system, so thank you. Those of you on YouTube, if you use common emoji, they will come up on the screen, which is now a little bit fun and interactive. So yeah, that's it. I don't have too much else to tell everybody. This is just experimental early office hours, and it will be archived, of course, in the office hours playlist on the YouTube channel. So delicious. How's everybody doing? Anyway, I'll stick around another, say, 15 minutes to at least half past my time, India, top of the hour. Just to see if anybody else has any other questions. Otherwise, we'll just cut it short, and I will see everybody in a bucket of hours later because we're going to do it all again. I will hopefully be a little bit more awake and less blinky. So that's that. Otherwise, I've just been playing with my system. I'm going to work on some new graphics for the system now that Supercomputer is back. I have brought back some old graphics that I couldn't run because I'd run out of memory. So welcome back, Ancient Egypt, which was a hit when I ran it, but then I couldn't run it anymore because of not having Supercomputer. Oh, it didn't automatically slide out. I've got to reprogram that. Okay, fix that. And Sad Rain, which should run for a few seconds and then automatically fade away. See if I need to fix that. Okay, that one works. Sujesh says, good to know. I'll spread the word. This seems to be the right time for us in the Asian region. Yeah, I got a request from someone in Australia who said, your office hours are like 4 a.m. my time. I'm never going to be there. Would you consider running them at another time? So I'm trying 10 a.m. my time, which should be 8 at night in Australia. I know we're about to change clocks this coming weekend, but I think India is right now plus 4.5, which I think would be 2:47-ish p.m. India, help me out. Of course, in the UK, it's kind of first thing in the morning. It's an hour behind me. And Africa would be a great time there. Middle East, great time there. Most of Asia, great time there. So I think this could end up being a popular time for people, maybe even those who haven't discovered me yet, because the times that I stream don't work for them. I cannot run every stream twice a day. I've got work to do, people. But I will do my best to try to start including more streams at different times just to see if they work for people in other time zones. And of course, thanks as always to our Indian friends who join me for the late ones, even though I know they often start at 10 at night your time. Hang around a little bit and see if there's any questions. If this one ends up being a short one and the evening one for me is a longer one, that's fine too. These don't have to be any particular length because I'm not running ads on YouTube. So a lot of YouTubers want the ads to I don't know if you know this, but a lot of YouTubers want videos to go at least 10 minutes because then YouTube will put more ads on them so they can make more money. But I have all ads turned off because I am using the tip jar. Let me see, I have to learn where to point at this. There we go. The tip jar. So if you do any super chats or super stickers or tips and things like that, it will fall into the virtual tip jar. And that's optional. That just funds the delicious cheese. So that's, one way to support the channel, but certainly optional. Otherwise, I just love seeing everybody subscribing. My goal, I will tell you secretly, my goal for this year is to finish the year with at least 3,000 subscribers, and I'm over 1,700 now, so it's possible. Yeah, so Sujesh says, have you come across the 6-month certification course offered by Google? What's your take on it? So I was actually going to cover that next week, so a week and a half from now, April 2, in my first reactions video, since I get a lot of, can you please open up the webpage for this boot camp and tell us what you think? And I'm going to probably, if you don't mind, I'm going to answer that question more fully there. But in general, I still haven't seen a boot camp or an online course that I approve of. I did look at the Google one, and from what I could tell, it looked like design thinking. It looked a little bit heavily focused on design thinking, which many of you know I am against. Not for design thinking. It's not real UX, so I don't know why it's being taught as UX, because then you won't really know user-centered design. Design thinking does not look like this unless, of course, your definition of design thinking is full user-centered design, but that's, kind of rare. Most people think it's step 1, have empathy. So I would say in general, the Google course doesn't seem to be any better, or technically no worse than anything else. It just looks like another online course trying to teach design thinking. I was very surprised to see someone say that it had some section on getting over impostor syndrome. Based on the definition of impostor syndrome, if you're new to UX and you're feeling unconfident, that's not impostor syndrome. Impostor syndrome technically is when you are you're experienced or even a veteran, and you feel like you might be a fraud and someone's going to figure you out any minute now, and you've really been a fraud all along. That is technically the definition of imposter syndrome. It's not lacking confidence. Lacking confidence is normal. I mean, so is imposter syndrome at this point. But it's okay to lack confidence. And I tell people, don't try to get over that feeling. Don't try to get over that, what you think is imposter syndrome. Jump into it fully. Embrace it. Go, wow, I really don't know what I'm doing yet. I think if we get over it, we run the risk that we feel like, yep, I took that Coursera course, I know UX, I'm ready for a job. And that's probably not going to make you a low ego action hero. That's accidentally a little bit arrogant. So I say, continue holding on to the idea that we're always still learning. And if you have that crisis of confidence, if you're a veteran, it's usually a crappy job making you feel that way. And if you're new to UX, it's just your self-awareness that you're still learning, and embrace that. So thank you, Sujesh. We've got 3 people watching live, so good morning from Italy. I put up my boyfriend, I was going to do it. He beat me to it. He put up the room darkening curtain so that my lights would look right. Otherwise, this side of my face would be hot Mediterranean sun, and this side would be dark and mysterious. So we had to put up the special dark curtain, which if you stand near, it feels like an oven. Hello, Braino. Let's put Braino up. Hopefully not a spammer or troll, because I don't recognize your name. Hello, Braino. Do you have a question? This is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. Those of you on LinkedIn, if you can join from YouTube, it is a better experience. I find that LinkedIn is sometimes delayed 2 or so minutes, which you can tell by me reacting to things you've written. And we timed YouTube recently, and it was delayed about 14 seconds. So it's a little closer to a real conversation, and I'd love to have those with all of you. So, Braino, first time UX researcher from Germany. Yay! Hold on, for that we need yay! Happy to have you here. I usually do office hours at 6:30 p.m. Germany time. I will continue to do that, but we had a request for an early one as well. Thank you, Braino. For people in time zones where you and I are and east of us. So we'll give it a try. Let's see, we've got a question coming in from LinkedIn. Let's put that up. I can't put LinkedIn up on the screen, but I can still read it out loud. Denise says, hi, Debbie. Hi, Denise. You're still in Germany too, right? Do you know Braino? Ivona says, Morning, Debbie. Should user-centered design also include business needs? How can we balance the user and business needs? Well, that is also a super question. I love the questions you all ask. Really, I rarely get a bad one, and that just makes me love showing up to this seat. Yes. So even though it is user-centered design and we talk about user centricity and customer centricity, we cannot completely ignore the business, because the reality is that nearly every other coworker around us is like 90% focused on the business, and on a good day, 10% thinking about what the users and the customers need. So we definitely need to be that voice of reason and customer advocate and help people try to focus more on users and customers. But we still have to understand that the business has needs and goals and strategies that it has to achieve. And we do want to know what those are. We want to understand them. And sometimes we want to push back on them a little bit if we find that they really don't match up well with what the user is looking for, which hopefully we know from our research. Excuse me. So I do have a short video on this, and you can find it in the Perspectives playlist, and it has to do, I don't remember the exact name, but it's something about speaking the business's language. And so what I think is that it's an opportunity when we do things like stakeholder interviews to ask people, for this project, which of our company strategies is this connected to? Now, hypothetically, this should be happening before kickoff. In a dream world, things like the conversations like that are happening during planning. So that way, if the stakeholder goes, oh, this has nothing to do with any of our business strategies, I just think this is cool, we can go, let's try to kill this project. But if we can have these early conversations, I like to ask, how does this project relate to the business strategy? And you have to remember, like, let's take, for example, maybe the business strategy is we want our landing page to convert better. When people are coming in from Google and searches and they happen to hit this page, we want this page to be more likely to sell them the thing. Now, you don't have to look at that and say, well, that doesn't work for my user. Yeah, hypothetically, your user came and they might be interested in buying the thing. So trying to sell them the thing is not unethical or wrong or no longer user-centered. If you go too far with some ideas, it can be unethical, it can be a dark pattern. But if you realize that the user is probably there to learn about things and buy them, then there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, business, we're going to do what we can within ethics, within best practices, within good user-centered design to help the user feel more trust for us, to be more compelled by the information we choose to put on the page, to reorder the information based on better information architecture, and help them be more likely to buy it, because there's nothing wrong with that. But when people have sent me stuff that was either garbage projects or, hey, see if you can make the user do this, I will push back on it. So finding the balance, I don't have an exact thing, and there's a lot about that in my book, but I would say it's going to be different for different people in different projects. There's no one magic way, but the start of it all is opening the conversations with the people who tend to represent the business. And very often that's going to be business analysts, stakeholders, and sometimes even the product manager, and say, how does this relate to the strategies? What are our goals for this project? And how will we know that this project is a success after we've done it? And that's where you also start to get into conversations of metrics. Is there a numerical way to measure the success of this project? With many things there are, even though UX cares more about the qualitative. Did people have a more efficient experience? Were they happy at the end of it? Or, we don't have to have delight. Sometimes people are just happy to have paid their bill and left the site. But we have to think about what some of those things we should measure are, and that's another place where you can push back a little bit, because some people are stuck in another era, and they will say, ooh, let's get people on the site longer. We want more time on site. And I'll say, why? For the type of business we have, is it better for them to spend a short amount of time on the site, feel trust for us, buy it and go? Or do we want them reading and reading and reading and searching and reading? Is that a sign of success, or is that a sign of lack of success? So I hope that helps. It's a bit of a long answer, but I hope it gives you some ideas on how we can do that. I'm not missing any emails yet. So this is new special edition early office hours. Ask me anything, not replacing later office hours. I will be back here much later today, 8 hours from now. Good morning. So I'm happy to take any questions anybody has until we run out of questions or hit an hour. That's the rules here. And of course, if possible, do subscribe on YouTube. It's a much better experience, lower delay, more fun interactive things. And press the like button so the algorithm thinks highly of me. Let's see. Yeah, and don't forget, if you are awake or you want to watch the archives later, today's office hours in 8 hours will feature special guest Steve Portugal, who is a well-known UX author in the areas of research. So come ask a pro researcher your research questions. Oh, and tomorrow we're talking about research too. We'll have Sotiri-san, who's going to talk about creating your own user pool. Any other questions? Questions are optional, but it's why I'm here. Oh, good morning. I think I fell asleep last night at like 1 something, and then I woke up at 1:48, but I thought the clock said 7:48, so I was like, all right, I slept all night. And then I was like, wait, no, that's 1:48. I slept like 20 minutes. Abhi says early India time zone. Yes, I'm going to do the early and the late ones for at least a few weeks and see if this works for people, helps people, things like that. So, let's give it a try and see if it's better for people around the world. Okay, we've got a question from Brain. So I'm just pasting that into my very exciting notepad file so I can make it my YouTube description later. And Brain says, I get the feeling that personas do not work as intended, especially for projects for people within a company. Do you have any examples from your experience wherein personas were really helpful? Yeah, personas are really polarizing. There are people who love them and people who hate them. And I do have a little video on that in the micro lessons playlist. I think I call it Making Personas Meaningful and Actionable. My general opinion on them is that if they're not meaningful and actionable, throw them away. Don't bother doing them. I think in some cases bad personas might be worse than no personas. So no personas beat bad personas, but to me good personas can be meaningful. But what to me is meaningful is when we shift away from marketing personas. I think too many people, especially those going through boot camps, are learning marketing personas. How old is this person? Are they married? Do they have children? How much money do they make? I see your question, Nabi. I will answer that in a moment. I actually have started seeing ones coming out of boot camps that are like, is this person kind or unkind? I don't design based on whether people are kind or not. If this is e-commerce or I've got to pay my bill or it's a software system for somebody, doesn't matter if you're kind. What does that even mean? So very often I see these personas that are not meaningful. They're not actionable. I can't look at that persona and go, oh, yeah, I can see how we can really focus on that person and try to architect and design something based on their needs and their tasks. So I would say that while I do like personas when they're done well, and I have had some success making good sets of personas based on really good qualitative research with usually at least 20 or 30 subjects, if nobody does anything with them and they sit in a drawer, then they're meaningless and not actionable. If people don't understand what they are, then they're meaningless and not actionable. If they think it's for marketing buckets, then it's probably not quite right. So I would say I'm focusing a little bit more on task analysis, which is also in the micro lessons playlist. And I think that if personas can identify the roles that people play and the tasks that they're trying to accomplish, I think we'll be more likely to focus on what people like that really need? I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be focused on what do people like this really need, and how can we keep these people in mind when designing for them, but also how can we then later recruit for our testing to match people like that. So they do serve purposes, but again, I so often see them done badly or meaninglessly. A potential client sent me his set of personas recently, and they just had like adjective names, which I'm just going to make them up so I don't identify who they are, but it was like the practical person. The practical person does these things. And, the caring person does these things. And I'm like, are they really separate people? And how do I design because someone's caring? What do I design for the uncaring? So I felt that they were not meaningless, but close to it. I said, look, these are typologies, but I don't feel like they're personas. So I think there's a huge debate over personas, if you can make them meaningful and actionable. I like them. There are some people who are against them no matter what they look like, and that's okay too. I see their side of it. And I think if we focus more on task analysis, we're probably doing some better work anyway. I hope that helps. But where were they really helpful? They're really helpful if you know what to architect and design. They're really helpful if everybody gets behind them. They're really helpful if QA imagines there are these people when testing, etc., etc. Abby says the kitchen thingy is going great. Will you be showing the whole process or only research and analysis? Super question. So we've got 2 more people to watch fake cooking this week, or they're really cooking. A friend of the show, Naz, and Randy Bapst from UX Star. Some of you might know him from LinkedIn. And then starting next Monday, we are going to do our affinity diagram as a team. So join live if you can. I know it's not the best time for everybody, 6:30 p.m. Italy time. Our clocks will have changed. So you're welcome, India. That will only be 9:30 p.m. your time. And we'll all get together and do a big mural affinity diagram on what we heard. So remember, step 1, practice note-taking. Listen back to those interviews. They're in the micro lessons playlist. And take your notes and note more about what you observed than necessarily what they said. I wrote down what they said. What did you see? And especially, did you see something that I missed? Because I will start over the weekend putting up some of my notes, and then you'll be adding to it so that we're not starting from scratch. After that, we're going to do a task analysis. After that, we'll do an optimized task flow. And if we see an opportunity for a digital product, I will continue the process, even though it is fake. Who's crying? Yeah, true. I don't know what that was in reference to. What did I say? Anyway, if we come up with a digital idea from the optimized task flow, and we will do personas. I think it's a good exercise to try to make better personas, though again, some people super hate them, and that's okay. So we're going to do task analysis and optimized task flow. We're going to do some personas. And then if the optimized task flow creates an opportunity for a digital product, I will try to continue it and do some information architecture and interaction design. If we don't come up with a digital product and we come up with a physical product, like, oh, wow, people really should have a better spice measuring tool, then I'm just going to end it there. But in general, people had asked me for some real or fake research that they could use to practice their note-taking and then design something from it. So again, even if I don't necessarily continue into a digital product with this, though I get the feeling we will, you can always use it as a sample project thing for yourself. You can say, okay, we met 8 people, we learned about things, and now I'm going to create a website that's going to help them with something that we heard or saw in those interviews. The time zone, it is tough. Yeah. So it'll help a little bit when we change clocks this weekend. So next week we change, and other places don't or have already. But yeah, so the rest of them will be at my normal time, 6:30 p.m. Italy time. I know that's a little bit late for parts of Asia and India, and really off the charts for Australia. So I apologize. It's this world we live in these crazy time zones. Any other questions while I'm here? If not, I can sign off for now, but this is Office Hours Ask Me Anything, and you are welcome to ask questions. All questions welcome. I've had some weird questions, but I don't think I've refused to answer anything. Okay, Brain says last one from me. You think so? Let's see. Let's copy and paste this for later. Okay, Brain says, and I can put this one up on the screen. Yes, it's working. I am using 90% think aloud usability tests in the evaluation stage and contextual inquiries in the explorative stage. Do you think some other methods are underutilized? Observation. That is why I'm doing observational research in the micro lessons now. I think a lot of people think about interviews and they think that that's the core of everything. Now, obviously, part of our observational research study is the contextual inquiry. So we've got we worked together live on this channel on a research plan and on a discussion guide. So we've got questions for people, but then we're watching them do things. And I think the observational stuff is really underutilized. Now, I know it's changed a lot in the pandemic as well, that we can't necessarily go to people's homes and go to their offices or go to wherever this is happening and stand around and watch them and things like that. We're all afraid of getting or giving COVID. So I understand that, but where it's a digital product, I think there's a lot of opportunity to do remote observational studies. And even for the one on our channel, it's actually a remote physical study. We're watching people cook a meal. Now, of course, we won't catch every single thing since people don't have 360-degree cameras. We're going to miss a few things, but we're really noticing a lot of things. I don't know about those of you in the audience, but I think I've noticed that we have, out of the 6 people we've met so far, we have at least 2 left-handers. 4 people made eggs and 2 made pasta, so eggs. So I would say, Brain, while think aloud usability can be great for evaluation and contextual inquiry is good in generative research, I'm just the biggest fan ever of observational research. Wherever possible, I want to watch people do things rather than talk about things, because people don't always tell the truth about what they do or what they think. They don't always remember all of their steps. They very often don't tell us about workarounds that they have because they think, she doesn't need to know about that, or they forget that they have a workaround. And so when we see them have the workaround, that's interesting. Like if you watched some of the sample observational research, we had one person who tried to make up for something being too salty by adding sugar to it. I don't know if that works. I try not to eat too much sugar, but people have their own workarounds and their own methods. And we wouldn't have known that if we had just asked her, how do you cook a thing? She would give us her steps, and she might not mention, it's unlikely that she would mention, if it's too salty, I keep adding sugar. So I think observational research remotely, if you can make it work, on site if you can't. I saw a job last year that was for Volvo Cars, and it was UX researcher. And I wrote to the hiring manager. I said, "Will you accept someone who's remote? I don't live in California anymore." And they said, "No, we're going to be working with people in our cars, so you would have to be here." And I said, "Okay, that's fair enough." So certainly, for some jobs, the remote version doesn't work, but I think especially for pandemic and safety and whatever, remote as much as possible. So thank you, Brain. And if you hear knocking in the background, that's my boyfriend's mom dropping by, as she does. Let's see. I don't know why she bothers knocking, because we hear her coming in, and then she knocks. So it's kind of funny if you think about it. Who else has a mom or a grandma who's just like, "Hello, I'm here"? But luckily, we like her a lot, so it's not too bad. Abhinam says, "I'm currently working on a real estate app. And due to COVID research, due to COVID, the research team has to depend on contextual increase. Yeah, and again, those aren't the end of the world. But if you're asking me what I think is the best way to go, it's always watching people. Hey, get to work, brain. See you next time, or join us tonight. Most of my streams are 6:30 p.m. Germany time because I'm in Italy. So have a good day, y'all. I just feel, remember when we used to go outside and watch people? Man, oh man. And I used to travel a lot. I did 100,000 miles in 2018 and 100,000 miles in 2019. And I saw so many terrible things happening in airports that customers messed up, mostly because they didn't understand what they were doing. And no, that doesn't mean we give them more instructions. But I know that if we had asked those people, or at least I hypothesize that if we asked those people what went wrong there, they would just blame the airline, blame the airport. They probably wouldn't go, oh, I really didn't know how to use this. They might go, well, it's this thing, or it's that woman, or it's that whatever. And so I feel like there's times, that's especially why I rarely will do surveys. I mean, in UX, nearly all of my surveys are screener surveys. Sometimes I'll survey all y'all to see if there's something you wish I would teach or talk about. That's an okay version of a survey, but I'm not going to survey users or customers to try to understand how they do things, why they do things, what their workarounds are, where the obstacles are, what tools they use. That's for really observing. We can get a little bit of that from questions, but mostly from observing, and that's when we can then do our task analysis. See the micro lessons playlist. Any other questions today? Am I missing any emails coming in? Let's check emails on my phone. My email app is crashing today. Like I needed that. Is there an update for it? Apps. I can't wait to get rid of WhatsApp. What's everybody going to instead of WhatsApp? I'm on Telegram. Let's see. No, I do not have an update for... And I'm amazed that WhatsApp updates, even though I have it in my Google Play as do not auto update. I mean, come on. Seriously. Hey, don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube and ring that bell if you want to know when I'm going live or putting up a pre-recorded video, as I sometimes do. And let's see what else is going on in my world. I don't know why my thing's crashing. Uh-oh, my dog's gone west. Signal and Telegram. Yeah, I'm doing the Telegram thing. I really hope... I would say the last people I have left in WhatsApp is my boyfriend's mom and my boyfriend's sister, and a guy I met at a concert 2 years ago, who I'm sure I could write to and say, how else can we keep in touch? But I haven't messaged him in over a year, so he's very nice, but certainly not the inner circle of my life. So I've got to try to move my boyfriend's mom and sister to something else so I can uninstall WhatsApp. Hate that stuff. Hey, this is Office Hours. Ask Me Anything. I know it's getting a little bit slow, but I am here for people in other time zones, but I will be back later for people in other time zones, and we'll do it all again. So if you have any last questions or just comments, if there's something you want to comment, I'm happy to turn this into a little conversation. Again, YouTube is delayed about 14 seconds, so that feels a little more conversational. LinkedIn is delayed a lot more. Hey, Avraham, how you doing today? We've got a new early office hours that I'm doing, and it's an experiment to see how many people show up and if it's helpful to people in other time zones. There will still be the ones in the evening. So good. And of course, American cups. Italy's cups are like this. They look like this. American cups look like this. So delicious. I make delicious things, which is good because we have a pandemic, and I'm lucky I enjoy my own cooking. Oh man, And same for the people we've been watching cook. They seem to like their own cooking, and whew, that's really important right now. You know, we have almost no restaurants near us. We have one, and within walking distance, and everything else is like a 35-minute drive, and much more public. So if I thought I cooked a lot before, I'm cooking even more now. And I have to cook everything because there's no ethnic food where I live. So I'm cooking everything. Oh, I'm getting a Telegram message, maybe from one of you? Hi, I found you in Telegram. It's Abinab. Hi, Avi. Good to see you. That is fine. But remember, I do try to have most of my conversations in Slack, which is why I haven't publicly said, hey, everybody find me on Telegram. I want to have most of these conversations in Slack so that more people can benefit from them. So don't forget that our Slack channel now has almost 600 people. So if you have a question for me, best to ask it in Slack in the general room so that other people can benefit from it. I guess you can send me a Telegram message if you really need to, but personally I'd prefer if y'all find me on Slack, and you can always send me a private message on Slack as well. So we've got 2 more questions, so we'll add these to the list, and then that will probably be it for today for our first experiment. How did the first experiment go, everybody? All right, let's take a look at these 2 questions. We've got Avraham and then Denise, and then I am going to turn this all off. And what am I doing today? Oh my God, my day is so packed. All right, but I'll see y'all later. All right, so Avraham's question says, do you recommend making a proposal that is likely to happen before the client officially requests it? So what I typically do with proposals is I typically, if a client hasn't specifically requested a proposal on something, I might not just send it in, because that can sometimes seem a little presumptive, or it can be a little bit like, I know you didn't ask me how I look, but you look fat, you know, and they're just like, you think I need to do what? So I think you have to be careful with clients and their boundaries. I would say perhaps in your particular case, if you've emailed the client 2 or 3 times and asked them if they want you to expand your proposal and they magically haven't replied to you, I wouldn't do it, because it's very easy for them to write back and say, yeah, but because they haven't written back, they might have questions. And so I would hold off on that. Now, sometimes with client proposals, the first one I send, I will over-propose a little bit. I will say, okay, you asked me for this, I'm proposing you this. And if you need to cut it down, we can, but I think we should look at this larger project that I've scoped. That's what I sometimes do. I didn't do that with you, Avraham, because, you know, we were trying to keep it quite conservative for a client whose budget we weren't sure of. But I would say outside of that, I do tend to slightly over-propose, partially because it's probably what I really hope we're going to do, and partially because if people cut away at it, it's probably still a pretty solid project. So over-proposing, unless you wildly over-propose, like, you know, it's a 200-hour job and you send them 400 hours. Well, now you've doubled it. And now they're like, what is all this extra crap that I didn't ask for? It's a balance, and you know, you'll have to kind of play with it a little bit, but I'm always clear with the people when I send proposals. I've added a few extra things in here. 20 hours here, 10 hours there, a couple of other things. You know, I think they're good ideas. I'll tell you why in my proposal, but you don't have to accept those. So it always changes. Bye, Abby. See you, hopefully mostly on Slack. So I would say you have to kind of read people a little bit, and especially when you sent them the proposal and you're wondering if they want you to propose more stuff, so you've asked a few times and they haven't said anything, I would just hold back. They probably don't even know themselves. And if you like, you can start thinking about if they did ask me for that, how much time would I spend on it? But I wouldn't have anything necessarily ready to go or the like. They could ask you in a call, well, how much time will that take? And then it's good for you to have some idea and say, well, I haven't finished fully scoping it out, but if you wanted this, I would estimate that in this range of hours. So you can't go wrong thinking about it, but I also know that many of my proposals take me days. And so I don't want to overthink them and have put in days only to not get that job. Hey, Charlene, good morning. Denise has our last question of the day, and it is, with whom should we define the KPIs of a project? Always a good question. Oh, now my email's working? Weird. So, sorry, email on my phone was being weird. So I think that the KPIs of a project should be a team effort. You might have things you want measured because they're meaningful to you and your UX world. You want to see if there are fewer customer support tickets about this particular part of the, feature, this part of the product. You might want to see if the app ratings are changing. Someone else might want to see if we sold more or kept more customers than we normally do in a month. So remember, when you're talking about some of those metrics and goals, you want to make sure they're being measured now, so you have a baseline, so you know right now it tends to be this. We tend to have people who convert this % of the time, or uninstall our app, or leave us a bad rating, whatever it is. So make sure you have those baseline metrics so that when you grab those KPIs later and you're measuring metrics once or over a period of time, you can compare it to something. Otherwise, this is where people just start throwing BS around, and it's a lot of lies and crap because they're like, yeah, we got this many sales. Well, compared to what? What was it doing before? Was the project worth it? What did we spend on the project, and what came of it? So I would define the KPIs usually with kind of the whole team. There might be, because everybody has something different they might want to measure. Engineering might want to measure page load time. That's not a human, you're not counting what a human did, but that still should be measured because it's performance and people see it as part of the user experience, even though it's engineering. Marketing might want to be measuring things related to getting customers, free trials, payments, putting in the shopping cart, things like that. The product manager might have things they want to measure. The stakeholder's going to have things they want to measure. Business analyst, maybe not, but again, I would like to talk to everybody, and that could just be a team meeting. Usually I schedule half hour or an hour for that, and I tell people ahead of time the agenda is for us to decide what we want to measure and at what point we determine this project a success or failure for each thing you want to measure. What's a success to engineering, because the page loaded fast, might not be a success for UX, might not be a success for marketing, so it's okay if everybody has different standards. We just have to measure them. So that's what I would suggest, and I would suggest telling people ahead of time that that's what you want to collect from everybody, and then maybe just a half-hour meeting for people to express the things they want to measure, just so we can all be in the same room in case somebody picks something really stupid. I want people to spend more time on our site. Well, why? They just want to pay their bill and go. Why do you want them to spend more time on the site? Where is that in the customer's best interest? Does the customer want to spend more time on the site? No. So why would we measure that as success? That sounds like failure. I hope that helps. Denise, thank you for asking. With that, I think we will wrap up. But if you are in certain time zones or if things work out for your schedule, I will see some of you in... what's that, about 7.5 hours? I'm so bad at time. We'll, of course, be back at 6:30 p.m. Italy time. And notice that we will change clocks this weekend. So if we've been kind of weirdly timed the last couple of weeks on the stream because you changed clocks and I didn't, we will change this weekend. So just keep asking Google for Italy time, and you're always good. So thanks to everybody who joined. I think we only had about 5 or so people at the highest point, but if this helps people and people get answers that they weren't able to get at other times of the day, that'll be great. If you can get these answers at other times, then maybe this slot isn't needed, but we'll just run it for a few weeks and see how it goes. So thanks to everybody for hanging out, and literally see you in a few hours.
Delta CX, available for CX and UX consulting, projects, and training. Contact us for a free consultation.